Hey, this is Passy from Passy's World of ICT, the guy with the white hat, and this is the second of our Southern Dog Club Access lessons, where we're going to be doing input data validation. All right, now the video play speed, remember I'm a slow talker, so you need to increase that play speed to 1.5 or 1.75. Just click on that tools cog at the bottom on the play bar, and then on playback speed, if you click that little arrow there, you can go to 1.5, 1.75, and the video will flow a lot better when it plays at a higher speed. Now this is going to be a very long lesson. We're doing validation and masks. So look, there's a timeline index similar to this one in the video description. So what you can do is just make sure you take breaks, do a section of the lesson and then take a break, and you can always come back to say you're up to create members table fields. You can just come back and click on that index timeline number there in blue, and it'll jump in the video straight to that section. So you can stop and then resume later on, and we certainly suggest you do that. So field validation involves checking the values that users enter into the database are okay, so that we don't get bad data on there and fields aren't left blank. So we don't want anyone to type in $0 for how much fees are due, and we don't want to have an incomplete phone number or leave the @ sign out of an email address. Also, we don't want to leave the fields blank, and so we have required fields which they must enter. And this all improves the integrity or the reliability of the database. Now, Access allows us to set up validation rules for fields, and these rules will make sure that nothing's left blank and that we get proper correct data like email addresses with their @ signs in them when people enter in data. So a data with incorrect or missing data is going to be unusable, really. Now this example's from another project, not the dog club, but it'll give you the idea. The item ID code for this stock item is totally blank, which is bad. What else have we got? It's a $45 trillion item. I don't think so. There needs to be some sort of range checking on that for a maximum allowed price to be put in. What else have we got? They've left their last name blank here, and there's no @ sign in that email address, so that they won't be able to get contacted by email, and there's no .com on the end. The phone number is very incomplete. It only has the first 4 digits on it. Okay, so that is going to create real problems if you save records like that in the database. And that's what will happen. That's what can happen if you don't put any validation on them. Okay, so they were the things that were wrong. Plus the date, 1st of the 8th, 2020. Oh yeah, it's not August yet, is it? No, so that's future dated. That's another problem as well. All right, so the overview. In this training lesson, we will do the following. Set up validation rules so that important fields cannot be left blank. Set it up so that the dollar values don't get excessively large, like 45 trillion, and they cannot be zero either sometimes. Set up validation for the email address, for the dates, for phone numbers, and for postcodes as well. Okay, so we're going to be doing all of that. Now, validation is a kind of long, labor-intensive process, and it's like building a house. It's not really the exciting part of building something, right? It's like laying the bricks. There's just a lot of bricks that have to get cemented together to make a house, and it's just brick after brick after brick after brick. And that's what a bit like validation is. So, like, if you don't find this lesson super exciting, that's okay. It's like laying bricks. It's just not that exciting, okay? Now, to do this validation lesson, you'll need the start database file. It's got the dogs table and the members table in it. Now, that database file is available as part of the lesson download. So if you go in the YouTube description, there'll be a download link to take you to our webpage to get the downloads. And the downloads also include the start database that you're going to need, the step-by-step instructions we're showing you in this video, and also the finished database, so that if yours isn't quite right, you can have a look at the finished one and see what the difference is and fix it up. So if you're a teacher watching this video, well, then you definitely need to get those downloads for your class. If you're a student watching this video, you probably do not have to get to the downloads. Check with your teacher, especially if you're one of my students. The download should already be there for you on your learning management system, Moodle or OneNote or whatever you're doing, okay? So the downloads are only $3 US for a site license for 30 students. So if you're a teacher, that's going to cost you like 10 cents a student US. So that's ridiculously cheap. So we suggest you get the downloads from those links. Validations we need for our members fields, okay? So this was our database design from the first lesson. So obviously you need to have done the first lesson before you attempt this lesson. So if you haven't done that first lesson on the Dog Club setting up the tables, stop this video now and go back and do that lesson. All right, so we've got all these fields here. Now we want to make sure the member ID code, we're going to use a mask, that's later in this lesson, and needs to be 5 letters of the last name followed by 3 numerical digits, okay? These other ones here cannot be left blank, but there's no special rules for them. We will have a rule for the postcode actually, which we'll show you later on. No validation on this file path, which we're just leaving blank at the moment. We're going to put a mask on the telephone number, so it puts nice little dashes in it, so it's easy to type in. That'll be late in the lesson. We're going to do validation for the email address, that big long thing, which you get off the internet. You don't have to memorize that. The membership fee, the total they have to pay needs to be exactly 60. Now the amount they've paid needs to be greater than 0 and less than or equal to 60, because they might have not paid anything yet and be on 0, or maybe they've paid the 6 monthly subscription and they're on $30 at the moment. And dates, we cannot have them future dated, and they need to be in day, month format, which should come automatically if you're running that on your Windows system, okay, because Access will just do the same dates as on your system. So if you're in the US, your date should automatically be month, day, year, and you shouldn't have to change them. Okay, so let's get into that, and then we will set up the validation. So double click to open the members table. So you get this in the start database, the members table. So if you double click on this table here, when you open up that database in Access, there'll be 2 tables, members and members dogs. So double click on members and then go on the, make sure you're on the home tab up here and go view design view, okay? And when you go into design view, it should show you all of the member fields and what data types they are. And we covered all of that in the first lesson. Now member ID code, what we need to do, what it's set at the moment is required equals yes. Well, that's good, but it's going to allow 0 length, which kind of defeats the purpose if someone enters nothing in there. So we need to change that. So to make fields required, most of the time Access will have set them to yes, but for some silly reason it sets allowed 0 length to yes. We need to change that to no. So you've got to make sure you change, click on member ID code, make sure that field's active so you're looking at its properties. Required is yes, that's okay. Allow 0 length is not okay. Make sure you put that to no, okay? So that has to be changed over to no. So when we go to save the table, so we made that change and changed to no, it's going to say data integrity rules have changed. This may take a long time. Well, on the size of our database, it's not going to take a long time at all. So always click yes on that message. And so that'll be it. That'll be fixed up. So remember, it's always required is yes and allow 0 length no. And the 2 properties you set on a field so that someone can't just skip past it and save the record and end up with some blank fields where we needed critical information like people's last name and first name. Okay, so we now need to test. We'll test that that's working all right. So if we flip back over to data sheet view and look at the data, and you blank out that member ID code and press enter, you're going to get an error here, an Access generated error. You must enter a value in the member's ID code field, okay? So it won't be allowed to be left blank. So that's a really good thing. That won't be able to be left blank. And then you click the OK button on this, and then just to get the other one back, you don't have to look it up and type it in. Just press the ESC key in the top left-hand corner. If you press that 1 or 2 times, that field there should come back to its original value, okay? So you can play around deleting things, and then when you're finished, just press the ESC key to bring them back again. The escape key is a bit like a go back key. So in the members table, we need to set required and 0 length properties to yes, and 0 length is no for these fields, okay? So we've got all of these fields here, and we're going to put some arrows here to show you which ones to do. Now, notice on fees and date, they're in currency and date formats for their field type. They don't have a 0 length, okay? So on those, you just make sure required is set to yes. So those ones down the bottom, like membership fee, fees paid amount, and join date, will not have the allow blank, so you don't have to worry about that. So it's pretty much all the fields except the member image location, all right? You've got to set required is yes and allow 0 length is no on all of those. But on these blue ones here, you'll just be setting required yes, because when you look at the properties, there is no 0 length property listed. All right, so we've got to make sure all of those are set to required and allow 0 length is no. So it's just a matter of being in design view, clicking on each one by one, making sure you've got required yes, allow 0 length no. Click on the next one, yes, no. Click on the next one, except for member image location, all right? Now, when you test the validations, like we've put one on first name here, so blank first name out and try press enter, and it'll say you must enter a value in the member's first name. And try it out in all these pink and blue arrow fields, and make sure that none of those can be left blank. So we fixed the first problem in our database, which is people leaving stuff blank. And you also have to do this for the dogs table as well. So on all of those indicated fields there that are in pink, you do it exactly the same way, setting yes and no for required and allow zero length. And then remember for the blue ones, which are year born and this date, they're just going to have the required set to yes, because they don't have any allow zero length property on them when you click on them. And just remember dog image location, you don't put any, you don't change that. So you just leave that required no, allow zero length yes. So you just leave that as default. Don't go modifying that one. All right, and test it out. So here we've got breed, and if you try and make the breed all blank, or if you tried to make dog name and municipality, if you tried making any of those all blank and press enter, it should tell you that you must enter a field. So make sure you test it all out in datasheet view. So we're doing this part in design view and just changing those two properties. This part we then go into datasheet view and test it out on the actual data, okay? And if you're not sure about design view and datasheet view, go back to the previous lesson because we did all of that there. All right, now number ranges. Let's have a look at that. So in the design document, which was the Excel spreadsheet, which will be in the downloads for this lesson, and you should have that from the first lesson anyway, the membership fee must be exactly $60. So it's just got to be equal to 60. Anything else is not valid. And for the amount, they've got to have paid not a negative number, obviously. So it needs to be greater than or equal to 0 and less than or equal to 60. So it's pretty easy to actually put these in to the validation property. So the symbols you use here are the equal sign. Everyone should know that. Now the one that's the arrowhead to the right is greater than, because it's kind of going to the positive axis of integers. The left, just remember going to the left is less. Left is less. So that's your less than sign. If you want to do a not equal to, you have to do a less than and a greater than sign like that together. So they're kind of the symbols we use on these rules if you're not real sure about the maths of that from your maths. So membership fee, that's the one we're trying to do first. So make sure you clicked in that field. A common mistake is that you go in the table, it's on member ID code first up, and then you just go around down and play with properties, and you haven't set it on the right field. So you've got to be clicked on membership field, and then where the validation rule is, it just has to equal 60. You want $60 as the standard membership for everyone. So you just type in equal 60 in there, okay? And then that's that done. And test the rule, change over to datasheet view, try and put in 0 for the yearly membership fee, and you should get this message, one or more values prohibited by the validation rule, blah, blah, blah. Now, that's a very long kind of generic message, and we can, on these validations, make more user-friendly messages, custom messages ourselves, which make a lot more sense and a lot better. So click OK on that message, and then remember, press the ESC, the escape or go back key to change that back to $60. And we're going to take a look at how we can make our own custom message, all right? So to make our own custom error message, again, we make sure we clicked on that membership fee field and not any others, because that's the one we're working on at the moment. And we put it in the validation text property, which is straight under where we did that equals 60. So where we did equals 60, we just type in membership fee must be exactly $60. Please re-enter the fee value. So we just type in whatever message we want to give to the people if they've put in something that doesn't equal 60. And when you check that out, what will happen is you get a much better message now. It says membership fee must be exactly $60. Please re-enter the fee value, okay? So if you're trying to give someone cheat and give them a half the normal price by putting in a 30, it's not going to let you, okay? So this membership fee is $60 for everyone in the club, so everyone should have a 60 in this column, okay? So that's a much more user-friendly message, but we can even make it better than that. So press the escape key to put it back to its regular value. Also test, on that a value that's way too big, like way above $60, like we got $15,000 there, that's a very expensive membership fee. It'll give the error message on that one as well. So make sure you do the way too big test as well. Now we can improve on that custom error message. What we can do is we can split these two sentences across two lines. So make it look a bit more professional. Membership fee must be exactly $60. Then on a new line, please re-enter the fee value. So we're just going to look at tidying up that error message just so it looks super professional here with splitting these two sentences onto two separate lines. Now, it takes a few steps, but once you know how to do it, you'll be able to do it on all the other error messages we're going to be doing as well. So this might seem complicated at first, but by the end of the lesson, you'll get really used to it. So where we've typed that in, where we've got membership fee must be 60, if you right click on that message and do zoom and then click on zoom, or you can do function shift F2, do those keys all together on your laptop. It should take you into the zoom screen as well. But I find it easy just to right click on the message and click zoom. And what will happen then is it zooms into a message box, but Silly Access makes the font size, or it did on mine, it makes it 1 point. So you can't even read the thing. I mean, obviously this should be 12 point. Now you only have to change it once and then it's right forever. So what you need to do is see where it says font in the left-hand corner, click on font, and then you get the familiar font type thing, and just up it to 12, like 1 pixel is way too small to see, and press OK. All right, and then you'll be able to actually read the thing and see it in this zoom message box, okay, in the zoom box. So you need to do that. Now you only have to do that once and then it should be right for the rest of the time. Now, if we click into the end of the first sentence, so here's our cursor. So we've just clicked in there after that full stop at the end of the first sentence. Then you hold down the shift key on your keyboard, hold it down and press the enter key, all right? And that will make it jump a line. Don't just press the enter key on its own. You've got to hold down shift and then press enter. And if you need to pull it back again onto that line, just use backspace. So if you did a couple of times and it's way too far down, just use the backspace key to pull it back, all right? And what we should be able to do is split it across two lines using that shift enter at the end of this line so that we got it on the two lines, and that's all looking good. And then you click OK. Now when you look, when it goes back and the zoom box closes, it looks like you've lost half of your message. Oh no, where did the other half go? Because you'll only see the first line of the message. You have to zoom it to see all of it, okay? Or the other thing you can do is if you arrow key along here, so if you start pushing your right hand arrow, it'll start showing the rest of the message. All right, so don't panic if suddenly it looks like half of your message has disappeared after you've done the zooming. Now, when you test the error message, yes, we do get this much nicer message that's split across two lines. All right, so we are going to be doing this for most of our error messages. It probably might have seemed like really complicated and long that first time doing it. It always does when you do something for the first time with computers. But it'll be okay once you're used to it. All right, so we've got this fees paid amount. That's the other thing. How much are they paid? Now, that's going to be greater than or equal to 0, less than or equal to 60. So we make sure we clicked on the fees paid amount field, all right? So that you're on its properties. And how you actually enter it is just greater than equals 0, and then you type capital AND, and it also has to be less than or equal to 60. So that's how you type in that validation rule so that the value that they can put in can only be between 0 and 60. And then we need our validation text. A dollar value from 0 to 60 is required. Please re-enter the fees paid value. All right, so we need to type in both of those two lines into the property and make sure you're on fees paid amount when you do this. Now, right click on that message and click zoom and split that message over two lines. So we're going to right click on that, do zoom, get to the end of this first sentence, then press shift enter and then say OK, just like we did previously. And after we've done our line splitting, that's how it should look in the zoom box, and you just click on the OK. Now you'll get a message, you must first save the table. Do you want to save the table? You just say yes. They'll give you that usual data integrity thing. Just say yes to that. Always say yes to that big long message. And when we go to datasheet view now and try it out, if we try and put $200 that they've paid way more than they needed to, because the annual fee is only $60, we'll get an error message. Dollar value from 0 to 60 is required. Please re-enter the fees paid value, all right? So that's all working beautifully, and we've done the validation for that field. So we are moving along. So let's check out what we have done so far. So on the members table, we've done all this stuff about they can't be left blank. So those fields are finished. We are going to do postcode later on. We've also done this, that it must be exactly 60 and it must be between 0 and 60 the amount they pay. So we've done all those two, but we've still got quite a few to do there. Okay, so we've still got all these ones still to do. I'm going to work on those one by one. And the member dogs table, we've got the cannot be left blank and the no validation on the dog image location. We've still got a few to do in there as well. But they're not all sort of totally different rules for each one we do. Some of them will learn how to make a mask and then we can do that again for a few fields, okay? So that's what we still have to do. The ones in blue are where we're going to do validation, I think, or is that what we're going to work on? They're the date fields. Oh yeah, the ones in blue, those three in blue can all be done the same way because they all have to do with dates. All right, so there'll only be one lot of learning to do those three. Drop down lists. Now they're for the screen form, so we're going to make that later on when we do the screen form, but we will use an or statement to put some validation into the table, but drop down lists we can't do until we've got our screen forms later on, okay? But we will be doing or statements for those two. All right, so let's look at the dates. The next thing we're going to work on is the dates, those three fields that need fixing up for the dates. Now with dates, you have to put these kind of hash or pound signs or sharp signs around each end, because otherwise Access thinks you're dividing. So Access thinks that this number here, 2/03, is 2 divided by 3, and it tries to do a division and work out a decimal answer. So when we're doing dates, you will see these funny signs around them. That's to tell Access, hey, don't do number dividing. This guy is a date here. Now we need to check that the date, the club started in the year 2000, so the joining dates have to be from the 1st of January 2000 after New Year's Day, and it has to be less than today. You can't do future dating, all right? So that's kind of the validation rule we need, that New Year's, straight after New Year's Day, January 2nd, 2000, you could join the club. That's when it first started. And we don't want to allow future dating, so the date can't be bigger than today's date. And there is a very easy way of getting today's date. So the rule is it has to be greater than or equal to 0101-2000. Notice we have to put these signs around each side so that Access doesn't try and do some number division on it with that slash sign. And it has to be less than or equal to, and to get today's date, you just do date brackets with nothing in the brackets, okay? So that's how we set up the rule. So we just make sure that we go into design view on the members, we are on the member join date, and we put that rule, copy and paste it out of here exactly, into the validation rule. Then we need, of course, our own message that we zoom up to make nice and neat. Invalid date, join date must be between the year 2000 and today. Please re-enter the date. All right, so, and click OK on that Zoom message, and that's all done and should be ready to go. So when we check out the join date, if someone tries to join in the 1990s, put down that as a join date. That was before the year 2000, so it's not going to like that, and it will give the error message and not accepted. So after you've done that, remember, press escape to make it back to what it was after you've clicked OK. If you try and join in 2217, that's a long time from now in the future, that one will be rejected as well because it's obviously way past today's date. So that's all working really well. We can't enter future dates or dates before 2000. Now, another thing is we don't have to worry about if the date's not correct, because like, you know how there's only 30 days or 31 days in a month. If you put day number 42 in here, Access takes care of that itself. It says the value entered does not match date, time, data type for the column. Okay, so we don't. And see how we've got the 13th month for the year there? There is no 13th month. The last one is December, month number 12. So yeah, if you mess up these numbers in here, make them too big, more than there are months in the year or days in the month, Access takes care of that. So we don't have to do the validation for that. That's built in to Microsoft Access as soon as you make it a date type when you define the field. Okay, now we can do the members dogs table, the year born. Obviously the club started in 2000, so the dogs, we don't want any really old dogs there, and I don't think any dogs will be older than 20 years old now, because it's 2000 it started, it's 2020 now, you're not going to have 20-year-old dogs. So anyway, the year born has to be greater than 1999, so we just put in that one in for this one, year born. The rule is that greater than 1999. And for dog join date, you're just going to use that exact same rule we use for member join date, all right? So you can copy and paste that in and the same message. And when you test those out, if someone puts a year before 2000 for the year born, it's not going to accept that as being valid. And if they put in a date of 1015, which was ancient times, that's not going to be accepted. Invalid date, 12th of the 6th. Yes, now if they put in this was the year born testing. Down here we've got the dog join date testing. So yeah, if that's future dated or if it's before the year 2000, both of those will get rejected with messages. And the messages are formatted nice and neat, split over 2 lines using the Zoom. So that's super good. So at this stage you might want to take a break because we've been going for 25 minutes. You might need a break. So you can just pause the video. You can even shut the video down and then go back to our YouTube page and find the video again. And then in that timeline index, find out where you're up to and click the blue time number button and get back into it. Okay, dog gender and D-sex. This is where we use the or statement. Okay, so we've used and statements. Remember, we were saying that the money must be greater than or equal to 0 and it must be less than or equal to 60. Here we're going to use or statements where gender has to be male or female and D-sex has to be a yes or a no. Okay, so how we do that is, for the gender field, make sure you clicked on the gender field in design view, and down as properties you have to put quotes male or quotes female. And then this long message here is done in the Zoom box. The dog's gender must be entered as male or female. Do not enter boy or girl or neutered. It must be male or female. Please check and re-enter the gender value. And that's just the cursor was flashing at the end of the line. And so click OK on that. And the desexed values are the same sort of or statement. So make sure you're on the desexed field, okay? And you're going to have in quotes yes or in quotes no, and type in yes or no for the value and zoom it up. Do not enter neutered or spayed. Please check and re-enter the value and just click OK on that. So when we test both of these, if you put in female, see they've put an N there instead of an M, it's spelt incorrectly. Okay, well that's going to pick up as an error. If they put in boy instead of male, oh well it's a boy dog, it tells them here the dog's gender must be entered as male or female. Do not enter boy or girl, okay, because that would be a common mistake. People go, oh it's a boy dog, gender's boy. Has to be M-A-L-E. So everyone picks that one up okay. For desexed, if they put an extra O on the end and say, no, it's not desexed, instead of no, it's going to pick that up and tell them to type in yes or no. And if they make a typo because D is next to S on the keyboard and say yed instead of yes, it's going to pick that up as an error as well. So that all looks good. The gender or statement, validation's working, and the desexed or statement, that it has to be yes or no, and this one has to be male or female. So that's all working really well. And there's one more test where they put in NEU, and of course I picked that up as wrong because it wasn't yes or no. So we've done a few, so we must be getting a fair way through this. Let's see where we're up to. Okay, so we've got a few ticked off now. So what do we still have to do? We still have to do member ID code, and we're going to use a mask to do that. We still have to do Rego number, and that's going to be using a mask. Member ID code up here is also down in the dogs table as well, so we know which dog belongs to which member. So the same rule we set up here for masking will be the same one we just copy and paste in here, so that'll be easy. We need to set up the mobile phone number, which is a mask, and we need this big long validation rule for email. And I think we're also going to squeeze in doing postcode as well. So look, we're more than halfway there, just a bit more to do in the home stretch. So let's do the last of the validations before we get into masks. Validations are, the email address is the most complicated one to do a validation on, and you can't get it perfect. Like if someone puts GMAL, Gamel instead of Gmail, you can't really detect that and fix it. That's too hard to fix. Who knows, maybe there is a service provider called GMAL, and that is a valid email address. So we can only check really that it's got something at something and then it's got a dot something on the end of it, okay? That's all the checking we can do really. So if they mistype Gmail, we can't really detect that. But we can check that at least it's got something at something and then a dot something else. And they haven't accidentally put a comma or a semicolon in there instead of a dot. We can check all that out, and that's what we're going to do with this rule. Now this rule, you get this off the internet. So if you Google for Access Email Validation Rule, this really long thing will come up. That probably looks like one of the most complicated things you've ever seen in your life, but it's not actually that bad. We'll explain it, but look, if you don't understand it, don't worry. Everyone just always Googles Access Email Validation Rule, finds this on the internet and copies and pastes it into that validation field, validation rule property in Access, right? You don't have to understand it. But let's just look at this simpler example. If we had the rule as like PA, then we got question mark, star. What that's saying is that the name must be 4 letters and it's got to start with PA, and then the rest after those 4 letters we've got. So you have to start with PA, then you could have any letter here, and then after that, we don't mind what they put, okay? So they could keep typing more letters, or maybe it's only a short name like PAUL. All right, so under this rule, things like Paul would be fine, PA, because it starts with PA, Pamela starts with PA, Passy, Patricia, they're all going to be okay. But if you put Pat or Pam, that's going to be too small because this question mark here means there's got to be another letter there. So 3-letter names won't be okay, even though they start with PA. And things like Peter, Philippe, Pippa, Pedro, they're going to fail straight away because they don't have this has to be PA in the rule, okay? So that's how these kind of wildcard substitution rules work. And there's a whole nother area too called regex, pattern matching, which we do in VBNet program. We won't go into here. So the above question mark at question mark star dot question mark star means you've got to have at least 1 letter, then an @ sign, at least 1 letter, then you've got to have a dot, and then you've got to have at least 1 more letter. That's kind of what this whole email address is. So that's how we do the something at something dot something else, all right? Now, the other bit, and not like, that's the part which makes sure we don't have any commas or semicolons in the address. Okay, so we want to have at least 1 letter at least 1 letter dot 1 letter here. And we don't want any commas or semicolons in our email address, so we put not like and put those 2 in there. And that's kind of how it's all working, but don't worry about how it's working. The main thing is you can just copy and paste this into your Access, because everyone just always emails it, Googles it anyway to find the rule. So email address, make sure you are clicked on email address in the members table in design view. And then for the property, you just copy and paste that rule in as it was. And then we need to zoom in and make an error message. The email address must be the format something at something dot something and not contain any commas or semicolons. Check the address and fix the format errors. Okay, so that's going to be our error message. Click OK on your Zoom box and away we go. Let's check it out. So we've got Desi Porter at Gmail. Well, that all looks good, but we've got gmail.com. We've forgotten the dot in there. So it's picked that up and it said we need something at something dot something. Okay, so it's picked that up as an invalid email address. Here we've got Desi Porter, but we've forgotten the @ sign in it. There's no at Gmail. Okay, so it picks up that the at's missing. So that's really good. This one here has at Gmail, but it doesn't have the dot something on the end. Okay, it could be .co.uk if you're in the UK, or it could be .com in America, or it could be .com.au in Australia, but it's got no dot something on the end. So let's pick that up. This one here, we've got the semicolon com instead of .com, so it's picked up there's a semicolon in there. Here we've got comma com, which is very easy to type because comma is right next to the dot key on the keyboard. Picks up that that's wrong and gives us the error message. And this one here, we've got the at, and then we don't have anything before the .com, so it's picked up that. So that wildcard rule, which you just copy and paste in, will fix up most of your email problems and typos, so that's the one we use. Now, the desect and gender, I thought we'd done these already, actually. This is just the testing for them. Looks like we've done those twice, okay? So Not sure about that. I think I thought I'd forgotten to do them and then I just did them quickly again. But yeah, that was the last of the validations. Just make sure you got the validations for de-sexed or gender all sorted. And we're on to using masks. So the lesson's been 34 minutes. The masks will probably be another 25 minutes, 20 minutes. So this will be a great time to take a break, cut the lesson here, and come back and do masks later, okay? So today, you've just done validation, that's fine, you've learned all about validation. Masks is kind of an extension of validation, and you could come back and learn about that another day, or keep going as we are going to do, because our dog's asleep at the moment, not barking, so we've got to finish the video before he wakes up. All right, so we've got to do member ID code. Postcode we're going to do as a mask, mobile number, rego number, and member ID code again. So we're doing it in 2 tables, the member ID code, because it is in 2 tables. It's in the members and the dogs. So adding a mask to a field restricts what types of keyboard characters can be typed into each position in the field. And it's going to help people out with phone numbers, because we can, instead of having to type in the big long number, we can actually format it with dashes, and it'll come up with dashes in the table, which just make it easier to read and easier for them to type in. And we can mask member ID codes to make sure they've got 5 letters and then they've got 3 numbers and there's no typo on them, because they're a primary key, so they're like really important to get right and we don't want them typed wrong. And postcode, we can make sure it is the full 4 numbers for an Australian postcode. So look, this is all of the masking rules for Access. We're going to investigate a few of them, like 0. We're going to be using that for postcode to make sure they have to put in 4 zeros. Now this is the important thing. This means you must enter something in there. The 9, you might think, oh, I use 4 9s for postcodes. I just want 999 because I want 4 numbers. That's for optional entry, okay? They can leave positions blank. So if you want them to enter between numbers from 1 to 999, let's say, you'd put in 999, because that way they can type in 1, they can type in 12, a 2-digit number, they can type in 999, a 3-digit number. If you only wanted them to be able to type in a 3-digit number, you'd put 000, and then they have to enter all 3 digits. I hope that makes sense. But anyway, look, we're not going to use all of these, but here they are for reference if you want to look at them anytime and experiment around with validation. But let's get into it, doing the member ID code. Now, the member ID code, just to save confusion between some people typing it in little letters, some people typing in big uppercase letters, we're going to force it to be uppercase. And how you do that is by using a greater than sign. So it's going to be greater than to make just, even if they type little letters, lowercase, Access will automatically convert it to uppercase because we put that greater than sign in there. So that forces all letters to be uppercase. So if they put them in lowercase letters, Access will just change them all to uppercase, and it's asking for 5 letters, and the L means they must type in a letter. Okay, so L's forces 5 letters to be typed in. I think you can also use A's for optional letters, but that wouldn't force all 5 to get typed in, so we're using L's for ours. Oh, sorry, if you want it to be optional, it's a question mark sign, okay, not the A. It's a question mark sign for optional. Now we want 3 zeros, we want 3 numbers to be typed on the end. Usually 001 or 002 is what we're typing in. So the 3 zeros means all 3 digits must be typed in. It's not optional. If you wanted optional, you'd use 999, okay? So that's our mask that we're going to set up that will force people to type in 5 letters, which Access will always make sure are uppercase, and 3 numbered digits. All right, so into design view on our members, and onto the member ID code, make sure you clicked on that. Now there's a field called input mask, a property called input mask, and this is where we type in these masks. Okay, so that's where we put them in on input mask. So it's a lot like validation. Now you can just copy and paste that out of here and make sure you're on member ID code, and you just have to put in that greater 5 L's and 3 zeros in there. Now, Access might put up a lightning bolt after you press enter to ask if you want to cascade it out to the rest of the database or something. Just ignore that. Just keep doing your work and ignore that lightning bolt sign altogether. Don't click on it or don't do anything. We don't need it at the level we're working at. Now, when we go into datasheet view, it shows underscores. So if you go to a member ID code that's there in datasheet view at the moment and just backspace it all out, see how it's got underscores now, which tells the user how long it must be, that you're not allowed to make it any shorter than that line. You have to fill up the whole line. And that's happened because we've added masking. Previously, we didn't have that. It wouldn't show underlines there. Now, if we do not enter those 5 letters and 3 digits, and then press enter, we get an error message. So here we've just started typing it, ALVAR, and we haven't put the numbers on the end. So it hasn't got those required 3 digits. So if you press enter, it gives this message, the value you entered isn't appropriate to the input mask LLL0000 specified for this field. Now, the other thing is, as you're typing in, if you try and type a number where that V is, it won't let you. And if you try and type a $ there, it won't let you. The LLL, make sure that you're only allowed to type letters off the keyboard in there. That's another thing which you'll notice when you're typing. And if you try and type letters in this last 3 positions, it won't let you. If you try to type a $, it won't let you. It'll only let you type number digits in there, okay? So that's another part of the masking. The unfortunate thing with the masking is we're stuck with this bit of an ugly generic error message that people might not understand what LLL000 means, that it means letters and numbers. But anyway, you cannot customize that. You know, on validations, how we had validation text, we could use the zoom to make them look all nice. Unfortunately, you're just stuck with this generic message. There is no kind of mask text where you can make your own custom message, all right? So I've Googled everywhere for it and there's no way to do it. I wish they'd just do a release of Access adding that functionality in. It'd just be so much better, but they haven't. Even though I've written to Microsoft and asked them. We now need to add the same mask into the dogs table. So in the dogs table, you've got member ID code down the bottom. So just copy and paste in that exact same mask. Ignore the lightning bolt when that happens. Make sure you're not on Rego number. That's a common mistake. When you first open a table, it's going to be on the first field in the table. A lot of people go, oh, yep, right, I'm in the table in design view, and they type their mask in here, but that's putting a mask on that guy. It's not putting it on the member ID code, which is the one we wanted to do. So make sure you clicked into the correct field in design view, then put your mask in. People are often on the wrong field and then they're testing and wondering why their mask isn't working, okay? And ignore that lightning bolt. Now, when you check it out, if you try and just put in a partial member ID code, like just backspace and take out some of those characters, it's not going to let you because that mask rule is there. Just press escape to get it back to its previous value. Escape's like you go back key, and that's all good. So that's what same masking is working in the dogs table now on the member ID code, the exact same way it did in the members table because we copy and pasted the exact same rule in. Now for Rego number, we need a mask so that it does 4 characters here, then we have hyphen and 4 more characters, okay? So it's a 4 character dash 4 character number. It's not 8 digits all next to each other. So make sure you are clicked on Rego number, and this is the mask we need. We want a greater than to force uppercase, and we just want to have AAA, because A, that's right, question mark means optional letter, A means letter or number, alphanumeric character A. So we want to put in AAA-AAA. Now when you copy and paste this rule in, as it is like this, a funny thing happens in Access. So you'll just type in greater than AAA hyphen AAA, and then you press enter, and Access adds in this slash. See how it's got this backslash here? What the backslash is, it's just telling Access that, hey, this minus sign here is just a fixed point divider. Then people can't type over the top of that. That's like a separator character. So that's just Access reminding itself with that backslash that the next thing that follows, that minus sign, is a separator character, and make sure it's a separator character and people can't type over it. We'll show you what you mean when we do the testing. So see here, they've got the separation character in. Now, if you leave out this number here, okay, so you haven't done the full Rego number of 4 things. Now, we've got all numbers in ours. These could be letters for some municipalities. Maybe they could have AA24. So anyway, but if you leave one of them out, all 8 have to be there because of the mask, so you'll get the mask error message. Likewise, if you put in A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, that's okay, because we used A, that they can be alphabet characters or they can be numbers, so that will be acceptable. There'll be no error. And using all numbers, try that out and there should be no error either, because we've used A as the mask symbol. All right, and just like previously, if you try and type a $ in here, an exclamation mark or an @ it'll just stay stuck there on the cursor position. It won't even show it on the screen. They're totally blocked by Access due to the masking, and you can try that out in the testing. All right, so validation of phone numbers. So now we're on to phone numbers. Now phone numbers are a problem because you think phone numbers, okay, well I'm just going to define them as a number when I set up my tables. And I think we spoke about this in the tables lesson. But anyway, a number like 35 is written as 35. It's not written as 035 or 0035. So if you're in a shop and you're saying, hey, how much does that replacement battery cost there? And the guy will say, oh, that's $35. He's not going to tell you, oh, that's $0.35. Or the lady working there isn't going to tell you, oh, that's $0.35. All right, they don't. The leading zeros or the zeros in front are always left off whole numbers or integer numbers. So what will happen is if you decide your phone, which we told you to have as short text, if you decide, no, phone number's a number, I'm making it a number, and you change it to a number in the data type while you're in design view, Access will even warn you that some data may be lost. So when you see that, you should start to get worried. Maybe I shouldn't do this. Maybe it's not such a smart move, but you're going to do it anyway and click yes. What will happen is all those O's in front of your number will be taken off because Access just thinks this is a number which means, I don't know, 40,321,000 or something like that. Okay, it's no longer going to have the leading zero. So the trick to get the leading zero or the zero in front is by making it short text. Never change your phone numbers to numbers, all right? So that's important. Phone numbers have to be defined as short text. And what we do is we use a mask, okay, to take care of the fact that we need them to type numbers in and not letters. Okay, now the mask we need for this is, we want to have dashes in between as well. So we want them, they must type in number values here and they must do it in all of those 10 positions for an Australian mobile phone number. So that's the mask you set up, and make sure you're on the mobile number field when you're in design view on the members table. Okay, so that's the first thing to make sure of. And again, when you type it in like this, in this blue box, Access will automatically put in those slashes in front of the minuses just to tell itself, remind itself that they're separators. And so when it displays the phone number for typing in, it'll display those dashes there and people can't type over the dashes. And again, if you leave digits out and you do not put in a full 10-digit Australian mobile phone number, it'll give you the error message, okay, about the input mask. And if you try and type spaces or $ or letters of the alphabet, you'll find that Access will just sit there with the underscore and you won't even see your $ or your letter A appear, okay? It just completely blocks those characters. So masks are really good to make sure people will type in numbers for a phone number and that they type in all 10 numbers. Plus you can put dashes in to make it easier for them to see it and type it in. So masks are good, good, good. We love masks. And let's do the postcode. So postcodes can either be a number or short text, but I think we're going to have ours as short text. And for Australian ones, they're 4 digits and you must have all 4 numbers there. So if we use 999, that wouldn't work because that's the one for optional numbers. And they could just type in, because it's optional, they could just type in 23 or 4. They might just leave out all the other numbers. So we need to use that 001 like we did for phone numbers, which means that all 4 numbers must be typed in. So the one we're using for this is 00000, which means that all numbers must be typed into that field and numbers are the only thing that's in there. So postcode, make sure you got it short text. Click on that field to make sure we're doing the properties for that field. And on input mask, we just put 4 O's. And that field size should be 4 actually, not 255. So I'll have to fix that up in the database. Ignore the lightning bolt, just ignore it and continue on. Go to datasheet view, try and put in a postcode of just 39 and leave this other 2 numbers blank and Access won't accept that, okay? So that's got our postcode all nailed down and good. And because we've used 4 O's and not the 999 one, it insists all 4 numbers have to be typed in. So postcodes are now bulletproof. Now, full test of the table's validation. That's all our validation and masking done. It's been hot work in the sun, but we finally laid all those bricks for the house. Hooray! We can put windows in and paint and decorate and do exciting things. But let's just check out this all working. So here's a new member, which is from that analysis document, which was part of the downloads for lesson 1. Okay, so I've got Kylie, we've got to add in all her stuff, and we're going to check that the rules are working. So here's Kylie here, and we've typed her in, okay, and it's all good, it's all worked. But deliberately make mistakes. So try and make her postcode just a 3 and see if that postcode error comes up. Deliberately leave her last name out and see if it comes up then says, no, you must put a field in there. Deliberately leave the @ sign out of her email address the first time you type it in and see if the @ sign comes in. Make her membership fee only $6 and see if you get an error that has to be 60. Make her pay $1,000 here and get the error message that it has to be something between 0 and 60. Make this date 2027 in the future. Make sure you get the date error message. So kind of test all the fields at once as you're adding in her data, and then that'll all be good. And we just need to do the dogs table by adding in her cute little beagle called Bessie. So this is the details for Bessie. So get into the dogs table and put all that in. And again, try doing future dates. The year born is before the year 2000. Leave beagle out. Leave the dog's name out. See if you get all those validation error messages and they're all working okay. And there's the quick reference guide. So we've done a bit of learning. We've learned about 0 and 9 today. We've learned L, question mark, and capital A. We've learned about the / key. So that's pretty cool. We've learned quite a bit about masks today, and masks are kind of a more advanced thing in Access. So that's really good. So save the database. We better save all that good work we've done. So remember, you go up the top to File, and then you select Save As, and make sure it's just Access Database for the file type, and click your Save As, and then you can navigate to your folder. Now Access should hopefully remember where it was, and you might get this Replace Database message that already exists. So do you want to replace it? Yes. So just make sure that's yes. And you've got the name here, make sure it's got, leave the .accdb on the end. That's the type of thing it is, an Access Database. Click Save, and that's saved. And so that's what we've got now. So far in our dog club, we've now got 3 members, and we've got 3 dogs for Juanita because she's running the club. She loves dogs. Desiree's got her German Shepherd. Now notice here that this got shifted round because the Rego number is the primary key, and 9845 is a bigger number than 9843. Maxi comes out down the bottom. So Access automatically sorts the table in order of Rego number. So when we added Bessie, we added that onto the last line in the table, but Access behind the scenes has automatically rearranged everything to put in Rego number order. And notice here things are in alphabetical order for member ID code, A, then L, then R. So that's a bit of behind the scenes if you're wondering why things are shifting around position when you add them into tables in Access. So still a few members and dogs to add in, but we'll do that as we develop the screen forms and other things later in the lesson. So what have we done so far? We've did lesson 1, creating the database and tables. Now we've done lesson 2 with the data validation input mask, a very long lesson of laying bricks and bricks and bricks in the hot sun. Our next lesson is going to be about creating queries for the database, like a summarized list of all the members and their dogs, and a list of members who haven't paid their fees yet. Then after that, we've got other lessons coming up on screen forms, input masks we've already done actually, so I'll have to color that in as one that we've done. Drop-down lists we haven't done, we'll be doing that. We'll be adding member dog images. Oh, sorry, input masks. Yes, we have to do them on the forms. When we make screen forms, we'll also have to copy and paste those same masks we set up for the table onto the screen forms, okay? So that's still some input mask work to do, but that's after we've got screen forms. Then we'll create some reports, the main switchboard menu to navigate to everything, and a fancy opening splash screen to make it all professional. So remember, the full course is on MS Access SDC, Southern Dog Club. This is the beginners course we're doing. The MS Access course 1 is for senior students, okay, and it has a the PASI bargain barn, which is a bit more complicated database and there's a bit more work and things to do in there. So we don't recommend doing that. We recommend doing this beginner's one. That's the feedback we had, that this one was too hard and advanced, and it'd be better if we had a beginner's one. So we're making the Dog Club beginner's one, and we've done the tables and validation lessons so far. So if you go to that website, you'll be able to scroll down and see all the lessons and find them. So thanks for watching. Give this video a big thumbs up because it's going to be very useful to you, because you now know how to get great data in your validation, which will save you problems in the next lesson when you're doing queries. And subscribe to our channel, because we're putting out videos all the time at the moment because of the coronavirus and remote learning. We've got to make a lot of videos for our students. So subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you in the next lesson.